hang on. No, that. Oh, hang on. I'm here. I'm here. Hello. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't find somewhere to set it up. So I'm literally like, I'm, my phone's on my radiator, but then like I sat down and I was like down here. So I'm sat on a box.
No, it's fine, honestly. I'm still like debating where I actually sit to do this. So right now I'm like in the corner in the kitchen trying to hide everything else.
Yeah, literally like I like was like, right, what have I got in the background that needs to not be in the background?
Really.
Love it.
Uh, well, thanks for coming on for a chat. And yeah, I just thought we'd talk about your life really because I find it very interesting. And it's just something that I could never relate to. So I'm interested to hear more from
Oh,
you about
fab.
it.
It's wild, so it suits the podcast.
It understands. I mean, okay, so for a light-hearted question, I quite like ask people this question. But if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
I think I'd quite like to fly, and I know that's such a basic answer because I know that's like what everyone says, but I just think it would be so useful.
It would.
Um, and like my life is so busy that if I could just like actually, if not flying, like in Harry Potter where they can just like go from place to place in seconds,
Yeah.
that like if I could just teleport, that's actually a good one. That would be quite useful. That would save me so much time.
You know what? That is my exact answer, and I've had that answer for years.
Yeah,
I think it is because just like as horse people, we're always in a car or driving to somewhere. So, I can
literally.
take my fingers and just be there. It will save so much time.
We could literally get so much more training in and around all the other things we want to do with life. Yeah, if we could just go from one place to the other rather than we probably spend so many hours in the car, which
It's
we could be
ridiculous.
doing more useful things.
I really hope in future they figure that one out instead of all these
Oh,
things that they're doing nowadays.
we'd be first to sign up. We'd be like, we volunteer.
100%. Okay, so let's kind of go back to the beginning. How did you get into horses, or how did they become a part of your life?
um, so I just my earliest memories, I asked my parents aren't horsey at all. So my earliest memory is just being really drawn to them, which I
Mhm.
think a lot of like horsey people relate to. Like we have that kind of like inside us that really draws us to them. So I just remember asking and asking to like, oh, can I have riding lessons? Can I do this like with ponies? And that's kind of and my parents eventually gave in, not knowing what they were getting themselves into, I guess. And that was it. I started riding lessons at a local riding school. Grew up there, like learned the horse and pony care stuff there as well, and yeah, then the rest is history. So quite standard, I think, but yeah, just it was just something I always really wanted to do, and eventually convinced the parents to let me give it a go.
Well, I can totally relate to that because my parents are on horses.
Yeah,
And yeah, it took me a year to even get a lesson and then a year to get my own horse. So,
yeah,
but
yeah. I think I'm like you in that we had our
yeah,
journey to having our own like later as adults rather than having like a Shetland bought for us when we were like 4.
yeah, true. Um, and then so because you got your disability later on in life. So what
Hmm.
was your life like before your disability?
So I was it was a real change for me. I mean, it's a huge adjustment for anybody to develop a disability later on in life, but I was like super active before developing my disability. Like played all the sports I could at school. Never happy unless I was like on the go moving. No good at just sitting and being. Still no good at just sitting and being. But I've sort of been like that my whole life. So I was always doing some kind of sport, some kind of activity. If it wasn't horse riding, it was hockey, netball, swimming, running. So yeah, very, very different from then. The sort of change in how my body moved when I developed a disability, basically.
And then So we'll go into what that disability is. But what was the hardest thing about adapting from your old life to your new life?
Um, I think there were two. The first one was what we just talked about, which was like I still obviously was able to move with a disability, but compared to the level of independent movement I had before, um, I like the my mobility was significantly affected. And from someone who was literally always doing like 15 to 20,000 steps a day, that was a huge adjustment. But then also I which you can understand, you can be empathetic of people with disabilities until you have one yourself. You don't realize how much people treat you differently. You know that people with disabilities are stigmatized and all that until you experience it and you see people's attitudes shift towards you. um you don't really like get it, and that for me was
Yeah.
such a like revelation, because I was like, I had people that I knew that were sudden had known me my whole life and were sort of treating me differently suddenly because of just because my body moved differently, even though like, and I know you relate to this, like up here was still exactly the same,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
because of what they see on the outside they suddenly treat you differently.
That's really interesting. I think because I've had my disability my whole life, I've
Yeah.
known anything different, but it's interesting to know that there was that change within people.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's kind of having, as you say, you wouldn't really notice any different because you have had yours since birth. um but yeah, it was really dramatic the way that people change around you. Not necessarily, I'm like, not everybody eat close friends and stuff, they're not necessarily nasty or anything like that, but just like assumptions they then have, and sort of like unspoken ways that they change around you. They're not necessarily being like outwardly ableist, but you can tell that in their brain they're perceiving you differently, I think.
Yeah. And then, well, I'll let you explain what disability you have because you
Yeah.
obviously know more than I do. So if you explain a little bit about what you have.
So I had a brain injury from horses,
Yeah.
which is
Done.
wild. um, because here I am still doing it. But yeah, so I had a bad fall. I hit my head pretty bad, and I developed a traumatic brain injury. And it essentially, I had a lot of effects from it, like whole body effects, but the most visible effect was it left me with a hemiplegia on my left side. So I had high muscle tone, I had spasms and like weakness, or very similar to like someone having a stroke, really. So my left side all became very significantly affected. It affected how I walked. I had some involvement in my both legs, but my left leg was worse. And like wasn't able to use my left arm as much. So yeah, that's basically it. It left me with sort of long-term effects from that, mobility effects, but also pain coordination, things like that as well.
And did you find that getting a disability changed how you personally identified or like how you saw yourself?
Yeah, I think it didn't. It's a bit like up and down. I think it was, to begin with, there's that sort of like real shock and denial for yourself, and you do lose confidence comparing yourself to previous, but then you start to regain like an identity. Even before I like had my recovery, even when I was like at my most affected by my disability, you start to regain identity. You discover like friends and activities and community, and you're like, okay, yeah, like cool. But then what happens is you've made that adjustment, but some of the people around you still haven't. So I think it does give you a bit of an identity crisis, because like you yourself have one internally, but then that's affected by what you see others interacting with you as well. So it
Yeah,
definitely sends you into a bit of a who am I? Where do I fit in? What is my place in the world kind of situation.
yeah. I mean, if it helps, I think almost everyone with a disability has that, even though
Yeah,
I've had that my whole life. There's been times
yeah,
when I've been really in denial that it's there. And then
yeah,
you kind of get to a point where you're like, okay, I kind of have to accept that this is a thing.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's a thing with everyone. It's just that it's very up and down with like
yeah,
you accepting you, but also everyone else accepting you and the environment being
yeah.
set out for your life and things like that. So I
And I
think,
like us in our 20s, everyone's sort of having a bit of an identity crisis anyway in their
yeah,
20s. So you add all that in and it's like, who am I?
yeah, literally start all over again.
Yeah, literally. That's what it felt like actually. It's a really good way to put it. It felt like I knew who I was, and then right now I've got to start from scratch and work it all out again, which takes a long time.
Yeah, it's a lot to do.
It's a lot to do. So I haven't got time for that.
Literally. So before you mentioned stereotypes and the assumptions, what were some of the assumptions that were made after you got your disability?
um there's a really big, and I know you've related to this sort of your whole life, with this perception. There's this real perception that people with disabilities are like children. Um, and especially if like people would assume that just, I know for you with your lifelong disability, but for me developing one, they would assume that suddenly I didn't want to do the activities I did previously, like going into town, going to a bar, having a drink, all those kind of things.
Yeah,
And there's, again, that's not necessarily, nobody's like calling you a slur or anything like that, but you're not getting invited to stuff. You're like, if you show interest in doing something like that, people are like almost shocked and surprised. And also a lot of those activities aren't very accessible, like as a society,
yeah,
because they assume that people with disabilities aren't going to want to go to a club or something
yeah,
like that, or a festival, or anything. So even before like people have their assumptions, the assumption from society is that people with disabilities don't want to do that, basically.
yeah. I mean, you're so right. Everything in society is a struggle to do anything. You
Mm,
just little things regarding like even going to the shops and getting certain things.
yeah,
And I didn't know if you had the thing, but like I kept getting like if I parked in the disability space, but because I was able to walk, people would be like,
yeah,
"Oh, you can park there," and it's like, "Yeah, but I still am disabled." But
yeah. I can't walk very far.
yeah, and there's little thing like that in the way that yeah, society kind of judges you before you even get a chance to try things.
Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting point you bring up. For those of us that are like ambulatory disabled, there's you don't really fit in anywhere. Society says, oh, you can't use that disabled toilet, you can't use that disabled parking space, you're not disabled enough. But then like our peers and the rest of society is like, oh no, why would you want to come out to town tonight? Like you have a disability. So you're like, well, which one is it, lads?
Yeah, where do you
Make
fit
your
in?
mind up. Literally.
And I'm guessing it took quite a big toll on like mental health and getting your head around it all. So,
Yeah, 100%.
what were some things that you did to help kind of process that?
Um, I did a lot I'm a big like notes app girly. And that essentially I did a lot of writing stuff down. And I know that sounds so basic, but I found anything, getting it out of my head and writing it down was a huge help. Um, so I would write down, like for example, each day I'd have like three things that I was grateful for that day. Even if it had been a really rubbish day, there would be something in there which I'd be like, oh yeah, no, that was a good thing in today. um and take really finding, like, forcing myself to find happiness in the really small things, because you don't necessarily have all those big things. I didn't have my running and my things like I've got now that I had before, so I had to find new hobbies and things that,
Yeah,
and new parts of that identity, if that makes sense. um I rather than just the parts that I was currently missing in that moment, I had to find things to fill it, basically. Does that make sense?
that makes sense. Did or were horses a part of that transition? And like,
Huge. Yeah, completely. And in fact, the reason horses were so important is because it was the constant. So there were lots of things I couldn't do anymore, but horses weren't one of them.
yeah,
It's such an accessible sport, and we're so lucky, like where we are in Bristol, we've got a fabulous RDA centre, that obviously is a centre that for people who want to ride who have disability.
yeah,
Um, I was able to keep that constant. That was the only thing, probably, I would say that stayed throughout and has stayed, and has then continued with me again into this new chapter where I am. It's never had to change. How you access it and the way I do the horse riding has changed, but the access to the horses was able to stay. And I think, yeah, completely that having that one thing at least that didn't change was so important.
yeah. I think that is the one good thing about horses, that way there. And I feel like
Yeah,
if you're having a bad day and you're not even gonna go ride, just go and sit with the horses. It's like
yeah. I
move.
remember like we especially in lockdown, because not only did we have all our own stuff going on, but the world was locked down, and we would just go for like a walk in the horses fields, wouldn't we? And that was that good thing in the day, was going for a slow walk in a field and like seeing some ponies.
Yeah, it's honestly the best thing, and I think it is so accessible to anyone.
Yeah,
And especially in Bristol with Avon, like
yeah,
if people did want to go on a walk and just admire the horse that they could, and it's just a good way
yeah,
to de-stress and just forget about everything going on
yeah,
in life and just connect that with nature and horses.
yeah.
Really nice.
100%. Yeah, definitely. We're so lucky to have that, aren't we? We're so lucky to have horses, just generally.
Yeah, yeah, they're literally the most amazing creatures. They're amazing. So
Yeah.
that leads into like where you are now, I guess. So you're now training for a half marathon.
Yeah, I've just finished a run this morning, so I'm a bit red in the face still. So
Well,
yeah.
I truly admire you. I don't understand why anyone could enjoy running. So anyone that I see running, I'm like, props to you.
You're like, not for me.
No, I tried it once and I was like, not my thing.
You're like, even if I was fully able-bodied, not for me.
Yeah, it's not my thing, but I admire
No.
anyone that can do it. So, how did you get from the kind of where you started to training for a half marathon?
So again, horses played a huge part in that. There was obviously medical intervention as well. Like I had medication trials, Botox, sadly not in my face, which we always joke about, but sadly into the muscle. But
Yeah,
it helped.
I say that all the time as well. I'm like, oh, I got Botox.
Yeah, and people are like, where? And I'm like,
Not my face.
my tendons, my muscles. Whenever I would go, I'd be like, can we just put a bit in here? Can we just got a little bit left, pop some in there? She'd be like, no.
Yeah, I, I, I try that too, and every time he's like, Tegan, that's not what it's for. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you were saying that the horse have played a huge part in your.
Yeah. So I obviously, like I said, the medical intervention is one part of it, and I'm so grateful for that. But I firmly believe if it wasn't for the horses and how therapeutic that was, um, that I wouldn't have made, I probably still would have made progress, but I wouldn't have made the progress I have now. So the medication kind of like, and the physio and all that stuff, that gave me like this baseline to kind of reduce some of the tone. But then when you, as you know, when you take away that, there's a whole lot of strengthening that needs to be done, because your
Yeah,
muscles like rely on how they've moved with tone. And that's where the horses come in. So not just the riding, like actually riding the horse, but doing the simulator sessions on the like mechanical horse that we've got at Avon.
yeah,
And most importantly is the ability to like volunteer and help around the yard, because that's where I started before having the job I now have. And it essentially meant that I was able to do like sneaky physio for like 6 to 8 hours a day, and I still am day to day, because you're walking and you're lifting and you're sweeping. And in the beginning I was really slow at those things, and everything was, I couldn't do nearly as much as I could do now. But because the motivation of it being like, if you'd sent me to a gym and been like, right, you need to do this, I'd be like, no. But
Yeah.
because the motivation of the horses was there, I was like, yeah, I'll sweep like 200 meters up and down for like an hour and things like that. So it's that it's that in the background, which even with the physio side of it was really motivating. And then over time I just got stronger and stronger. I'm still on like some of the medications that I was trialed on originally. We've tweaked some of those a little bit. But having the being able to ride and work around with the horses was the biggest thing. Combined with that, it kind of, yeah, I firmly believe is what's really rehabbed me to this point.
It's really awesome to see, honestly. And yeah, I still don't know
Mm.
how you voluntarily want to do a half marathon, but I admire you.
I do. I think for me, it's that, like, I don't enjoy every kilometer that I run in it by any means. There's sometimes I get and I'm thinking, oh my God, why am I doing this? But there's that real like adrenaline high that I get from it. And for me as well, I enjoy it now more than I used to 10 years ago, because I like, it's so cheesy, but I was running along today, and like Defying Gravity comes on, right, from the Wicked movie, and the verse is about like, I'm defying gravity, like nothing's gonna hold me down, like gave me such a buzz, because
Yeah,
like, and it's so cheesy, but I think to myself in those moments, like, I didn't think I would be able to do this again.
yeah,
So it gives me that newfound appreciation, even though my legs are sore and I'm tired. Like, the fact that I can move in that way again is such a
yeah.
like bloomin' blessing, that I'm like, okay, let's go, another 5K, let's go.
Absolutely insane.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
that's wild.
yeah, it is, honestly. Um,
But yeah.
what is one thing that you like to do after a run? So is there like, do you like rehab, or do you like to just like chill, watch TV?
I Yeah, I after and I do like to chill. And actually I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy running, because I have so much like raging ADHD energy that I'm not very good at chilling normally.
Yeah,
So which is something I struggled with when I was forced to chill when I was quite immobile. So I like the fact that after a run I can literally just sit down and I'm like, oh, I can just be right now. And it's really nice. I do stretch. I do a lot of stretching as well, because I do still get, I'm nowhere near where I used to be, but like I still get quite a lot of tightness and things. So I make sure to do my stretches, which you'll be proud of. So that's good. Um,
well done.
but yeah, no, I just like to chill, and I feel you have that runner's high afterwards as well. So I just feel like my mood is then set up for the rest of the day, which is nice.
Yeah, and then so you also got your horse, Luna.
Yeah.
So
Loony bag.
she's honestly the cutest little thing.
She's cute, but she's a nutter.
Um, so you did an OD right last year.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you hoping to do more of that this year? Is that?
Yeah. So that's the goal for this summer, is to do, it took us again, I'd got back to like cantering and jumping and stuff like a few years ago. That was another part of the rehab journey, because obviously when I rode para dressage I was walk with a little bit of trot. So I got back to that a few years ago. So all of this summer then was really building up to be able to do an ODE. Is a physical challenge, man, because you've got the dressage test, then you've got to jump around, then you've got to go cross country. And I think people that are able-bodied, they're like, oh, it's a bit tiring. But when you lose feeling in your legs half around a jump round, or like your tone kicks off, it's a lot to
Yeah,
do in one day. So I spent most of last summer building up I already had this like baseline level of rehab, strength and fitness, but I had to add to that to be able to do an ODE. It was I knew that I needed to like take it up a notch in terms of that. So I did that for most of the summer and then finished with it. I've been trying to keep that level of fitness more now over this winter, so that when we come into this season, I can hopefully go out and do a couple, like 3 or 4 maybe before the end of the summer. Um, so that's the goal. I was in shock that I managed to do it, because about so I did it last August. Just like 6 months prior to that, I would do like one show jump round, and I'd get halfway round and you can hear me on videos. I call out, I can't feel my legs. And, and like my friend James would be going, they're there, I can see them. And I'd be like, okay.
They are still there.
Yeah, he was like, they are there. And I was like, okay, well, I can't feel them. I'm just going to keep going to this massive boxer. Ah!
That's
So
terrifying.
that, it was so fun. I like, there were loads of spectators watching that don't know me or my story. So they were probably like, what is this
What,
nutter on about?
what's happening right
Like,
now?
why can't she feel her legs?
Gosh.
So yeah, that was only 6 months before the ODE. So I was like, right, I've got work to do.
Well, again, it's really impressive that you got around it and that you're able to do, because it is so much dressage, children
Yeah,
and cross country all together. So yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot of standing up for you as a person as well.
yeah.
So yeah, I truly admire everything
Oh,
that you're doing
thank
right
you.
now. That's awesome.
There's not many para eventers, and there's a lot of para dressage. There's a few para show jumpers. I'm determined to be like para eventing. This is a thing. Let's go.
Yeah,
If I can find, I just need to find more people that are like
yeah.
as insane as me when it comes to it. Really.
Well, I always wanted to be an inventor like my whole life, but I was
Let's get you cross country.
yeah, I was pushed down the dressage route, and I keep saying, just get me a saddle with a seatbelt, and I'll be ready to go. Like, just strap me
And
in.
you know what? Like, this is the thing where I say this in jest because horses are super inclusive, but even that I find within horse sport is a little bit of a like assumption of limitation, because for people with disabilities, they're like, you can ride horses, wonderful, I love that. But a lot of the time, all that's really offered is the para dressage route. And for some people, that's what they want to do. Fab. But for people that want to do like want to try the more adrenaline sports parts of it,
Yeah,
they're often told, no, you can't, like it's not safe. And I'm like,
yeah,
but if consenting adults want to, with a disability, want to give it a go and see if they can at least try it. And I'm not saying go around badminton, with cerebral palsy,
yeah,
but I'm saying let people try and let people work these things out for themselves, rather than being like, no, you just need to do
yeah.
dressage in walk, you know.
Yeah, it's very true, and I think it is. I think it is quite a British mentality. We're very,
Yeah.
we're very health and safety conscious here, because I think
Yeah.
as a country, um, most power riders do a lot more than
Yeah.
a power dresser. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely something that I would like to try. And I always say, one day I'll retire from dressage and I'll go and try all these things. But
Yeah.
I think right now I'll stick to the four legs on the ground.
Yeah.
Stay
When
safe.
we when we get you a seatbelt for the saddle, you can come team chasing with me.
Yeah,
That was mental. That was wild. We'll just
yeah,
strap you in. You'll be absolutely. They have these like hirings. They're like hunt hires that do this in their sleep. If we literally just Velcro you to the saddle, you go around the whole course. It'd be grand.
yeah. That's all I need. Just a seatbelt and I'm fine.
Just a seatbelt and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
You'll
just
be
strap
jumping
me
like 50-foot hedges.
in. Well, you know what? I will find a way someday to make that happen. I'm gonna find
Yeah.
some saddle or something, and I'm gonna have one ride like that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That is a good like top goal item, isn't it? And also you're so determined. If anyone's going to find a way to do it, it'll be you.
We'll see. Um, and one of my other questions was, if Luna could talk, what do you think she would say to you?
I'm not sure I want to know.
Oh no.
I just said this yesterday. I did dressage with her yesterday, and dressage is not her favorite discipline. She's reasonably okay at it, but she's more of like a go fast adrenaline girl.
Yeah.
And I was saying to people around me, like, I put the dressage tack on, I put her dressage bridle on, and I looked at her and I was like, I can tell, Luna, you're having so many thoughts right now. Like, I can hear, I don't know exactly what you're saying, but I can hear you having 5,000 thoughts. And she was like, and I was like, I just know that if she could talk, she would have so much to say.
She just wouldn't stop
She's
talking. She talked the whole
no. I think she tell me to jog on quite often. She has a bit of a cracking side eye, and often when I bring the dressage tack to her, she's like,
What is that?
whereas if I bring the jump tack, she's like, hello, yes, my time.
She's definitely a character.
She is a character, and I think we're quite similar in lots of ways, which has been quite a adjustment for me because she's very busy, go go go, so I have to try and not be quite as much with her. Whereas the horse I had before, Rick, he was very chilled out, very relaxed, so I could just be absolutely bonkers in my head and he would just mellowed it. I have to very not be like that with Luna because she is much more switched on and her brain goes a million miles an hour, so like I have to be the one that's like, we're going to be really calm right now.
It's kind of a good match because she's like the crazy one, so you have to be calm.
Yeah, actually, she does make me mellow myself to like so that the partnership kind of works. So yeah, you're right, actually. I think it is good for me.
Well, also to do with horses, one thing that you also did is that you're now a qualified coach.
Yes,
And
yeah.
just have that been and like how are you enjoying it?
I love it. I absolutely. So I coach, I'm doing my pathway currently for the BHS coaching as well, which is like commercial and able-bodied, but I am a qualified RDA coach now, including with RDA show jumping. And that for me, I literally love teaching, but I love teaching my teenage riders who a lot of the time in their past have been told, no, you can't do that, your disability will make that too hard. No, that's not safe. And obviously I still risk assess everything, I still do. I'm not exactly taking them out team chasing, but I really enjoy being like, yeah, I think you can learn to jump in canter, let's give it a go and we'll see, and we'll like assess as we go along. And obviously if it is too much, it is too much, but like what's to say we can't give it a go? Or like sometimes they get to come for a hack with me on a horse. We have a really fast canter up the canter track, and for a lot of them, um, in the past, because they have some form of disability, they all have different disabilities, but they've been told like, oh no, like I'm not sure that's a good idea. So I really enjoy being that person that I kind of wanted when I first developed a disability and wanted to still ride. The person that says, like, okay, we have to be safe, but nothing's really completely off limits. We can just try. So yeah, I really, really enjoy that and seeing the progress they make and the fun that they have with it, basically, the
Yeah,
fun they have with horses.
yeah, and I think that is the best part is that people are getting to have fun in the way that they want to have fun.
Yeah,
No, just letting them
yeah.
try at least. So yeah, I'm really thrilled that you're a coach and that people are actually getting a chance to like try everything. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, it's really rewarding and really and I enjoy it. I get a lot from it as well, so that's good.
And my last question what would be one piece of advice you would give to someone who might have gone on a similar journey to you that you wish you had gone?
Um, oh, sorry, what was that last thing you said? I think the signal cut out.
So
What advice would I give to someone on a similar journey? And then I lost it.
that you wish you had gotten.
I would say to people, my number one advice, and I always say this, is do not let others limit you. When I say that, I mean don't let others' opinions limit you in your own head as well. I'm not talking about like obviously don't let anybody limit you like full stop, but that even stretches to when you subconsciously take on like what others are saying and sort of others' opinions, and then you limit yourself because of it. Don't let that happen. You know, you can take on everyone's opinion, you can say thank you, I value your opinion, but don't let it make you feel like there's something you can't do, that or something that you can't achieve, or in and that goes from the small achievements to the really big achievements. Just don't let yourself be limited either by your own thoughts or like the thoughts of others. 100%. And have faith that you know yourself, and you will know if you think you can achieve something.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. And yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for coming on.
thank you for having me, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've loved it. I'd love to actually hear more about your story because even though I know you, I haven't
Yeah,
heard it in a while at least. So yeah, it's been great
yeah,
to actually catch up and hear everything that you're doing. And yeah, Ocean,
yeah, thank you, it's been lovely, good to have a little natter and a catch up.
yeah, it's nice. Well, best of luck with your training.
Thank you, thank you,
I will hopefully be cheering you on the day. I'll
thank you.
get time and everything. Yeah.
I love that. I would love that. I will hit a new PB if I run past and I see people I know. I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, literally. You'll be like, defy gravity, defy
yeah.
gravity.
I'll get a hat and everything, start singing beside you.
Please do get a karaoke machine for the sideline.
Gosh,
I love that.
I'll do it. I actually will. I actually will. I'll just sing my heart.
Do
Well,
it. So remember, don't let anything limit you. You can do that. I believe in you.
oh gosh, better not practicing.
I'll practice my running, you practice your singing. There we go.
Okay, that's fair. I can do that. I can do that one. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. I'll catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant. See you later.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.